Look, in just a few short years, the way you interact with technology is going to completely vanish. No keyboard, no mouse, not even voice commands. You are literally just going to need your thoughts. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tearing down the tech stack of tomorrow, specifically June 2026, and we're building up to something truly mind-bending. Meta's non-invasive brain-to-cordy technology. This is the mind-reading tech that's about to change human history forever, and we're going to see exactly how it works. Let's just dive right in.
Okay, to understand how we get to mind-reading computers, we actually have to start at the absolute foundation, $100 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the size of the multi-year compute deal Meta just struck for AMD chips. We are not talking about a software company buying another software app here. We're talking about a single tech giant hoarding $100 billion worth of physical hardware, specifically MI440 GPUs and CPUs. Why? Because you need an unimaginable amount of raw power to make the next generation of AI a reality.
And honestly, that massive price tag makes perfect sense when you step back and look at what's happening across the industry right now. Like NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang said when they unveiled the new RTX Spark chip, the overarching goal is to reinvent the single most important tool of humanity. The computer itself is getting a total redesign from the ground up. Every single layer, the physical chips, the software, the geopolitics, and most incredibly, the way our actual human brains interface with these machines is shifting all at once.
So let's look at the very bottom layer of this new tech stack, the foundation, and the massive infrastructure war happening right now.
The sheer aggression of this computing land grab is just staggering. We already talked about Meta's $100 billion AMD deal, right? Well, they explicitly state this is to support the development of personal superintelligence. But they didn't even stop there. They went out and locked in a $21 billion AI compute capacity deal with the neocloud provider CoreWeave, and that extends all the way through 2032. This is partially powered by NVIDIA's Vera Rubin platform. Basically, these tech giants are buying up the entire world's future processing power today.
And you can really see how this compute frenzy is totally warping corporate acquisitions. Apple quietly bought an Israeli startup called QAI for $2 billion to power invisible interfaces for their wearables. But the absolute wildest move, that has to be SpaceX's $60 billion agreement to acquire the AI coding platform Cursor. What's blowing people's minds online, to the point where some Reddit users thought it was actually AI-generated fake news, is the fallback clause. It includes a massive $10 billion compute for equity handshake. These aren't just your standard cash buyouts anymore. Raw compute is literally becoming a currency of its own.
But, whoever controls the compute controls the future. And with that much concentrated power, we hit the friction layer. It inevitably leads to some serious clashes on the global stage.
This consolidation is already building into real-world geopolitical tension. Let's look at Anthropic. They recently launched their newest models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5. But shortly after the launch, Amazon researchers allegedly found a way to bypass Fable 5's guardrails. So, the US government steps in and actually forces Anthropic to pull the models, citing national security concerns. Well, this sparked a massive debate. Cybersecurity researchers immediately pushed back with an open letter, calling the ban dangerous, while Anthropic pointed out that these exact same vulnerabilities exist in other models too. It leaves us with a really fascinating question. Is this a genuine, isolated security threat, or is it just a reflection of political tension between Anthropic and the administration?
And that friction isn't just domestic. Anthropic is also accused Chinese AI labs, specifically DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimax, of industrial-scale distillation campaigns. The core allegation here is that these labs use thousands of fraudulent accounts to basically extract knowledge straight out of Anthropic's Claude models. According to the analysis, the impact really varies. DeepSeek's activity was apparently pretty small, but Minimax and Moonshot allegedly generated millions of exchanges. It just goes to show how the embedded knowledge in these models is being fiercely protected, but also aggressively targeted.
So, we've got the hardware, and we've got the geopolitical borders trying to contain it. Let's move up the stack to the software layer, because this is where things fundamentally change for how we actually get work done.
The absolute most crucial takeaway here is that we are leaving the era of apps. Traditional computing meant typing, opening specific software, managing messy windows like Excel or PowerPoint, and just endlessly scrolling. The new paradigm is called agentic computing. A perfect example of this is Microsoft's Project Solara for agent-first devices. You walk up, you speak your intent, and that messy pile of windows just collapses into the final result you wanted. You're not operating the machine anymore, you are managing a digital employee.
And to see how this actually works in practice, just look at everyday life right now. Grok is essentially acting as a personal shopping genius. You tell it you need breakfast, it checks the local weather, checks trends, remembers what you like, and auto-orders your groceries so you literally never run out of coffee. Meta's Muse Spark just introduced this really cool contemplating mode that orchestrates multiple reasoning agents in parallel. It even scored a massive 58% on humanity's last exam. Over on the developer side, Notion updated their platform so you can run external agents straight from your terminal. We even have OpenClaw, which is an open-source agent running locally and securely right inside your WhatsApp. Software isn't passive anymore, it's completely active.
But how do we physically connect to these active agents? This brings us to the most mind-bending part of this entire explainer, the user interface. If you want to understand the tech that is going to completely redefine our physical relationship with computers, this is it. First off, the traditional mouse and keyboard, they're becoming obsolete. We're seeing demonstrations of AI-enabled pointers where you simply highlight ingredients on a recipe, click your shopping list, and the AI automatically extracts and adds the items. No typing required at all. You can hover over a spreadsheet, say, merge this, and it just happens. The pointer actually knows the context of the data behind the screen. You just drag, drop, and speak. But here is the absolute game changer we've been building toward. Forget the mouse entirely. Meta's Area Gen 2 smart glasses are pushing a feature called Brain to QWERTY version 2. This is non-invasive mind-reading tech. No surgery, no cracking open your skull. It translates your brain scans directly into coherent sentences in real time. Imagine interfacing with those autonomous agents we just talked about. Not by typing, not by speaking, but literally just by thinking. It is a wildly high-speed, frictionless leap in human evolution, and it's happening right now.
So we have the raw compute, the autonomous agents, and now the mind-reading interfaces. But what happens when classical computing simply hits a wall? Let's look at the final layer of the stack, the next frontier.
Because we are absolutely going to reach a point where even $100 billion in classical GPUs isn't enough to solve our most complex biological, chemical, and logistical problems.
And that is exactly where we cross into universal quantum computation. As defined by companies like Quantinium, who are aggressively building full-stack platforms right now, we are finally moving past cool lab experiments and into reality. This is the ability of a quantum computer to run any quantum algorithm, making it completely deployable for real-world enterprise-level challenges.
What this actually looks like in practice is a complete merger of quantum and AI. Quantinium is rolling out TCAT, which is an open-source compiler to optimize quantum circuits. We are seeing the birth of quantum machine learning, where hybrid models work right alongside classical AI workflows to analyze massive things like complex biological datasets. And over at IBM, their 2026 roadmap highlights how classical AI will actually manage and set up complex quantum workflows automatically. IBM's Kookaburra system is already demonstrating logical processing units paired with quantum memory. The AI manages the quantum machine, and the quantum machine supercharges the AI.
So when you stack it all together, a foundation of infinite compute, autonomous agents doing the work, non-invasive mind reading acting as the interface, and quantum processing powering the absolute limits of logic, what does it even mean to use a computer tomorrow? The tech stack of 2026 isn't just a tool we pick up, it's an environment we are deeply cognitively integrated with. It's a wildly fascinating future, and I hope this explainer helped you wrap your head around exactly how it's being built. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep your eyes on the horizon.